Ladies and gentlemen, good morning and welcome to Government House. My name is Hugh Borriman. I have the honour to be the official secretary to Her Excellency the Governor, and I'll be the Master of Ceremonies today. Today is the fourth of 6 ceremonies to present Australian honours, most of which were announced on the King's birthday on the 12th of June. As we start, could I please ask that you ensure that your mobile phones are turned to silent. We do ask that there's no photography during the session, please. We have an official photographer. After the session, you're more than welcome to take photographs here, anywhere else in the House, but please, just in the interest of not disturbing others, no photography during the session. It is being live streamed and will be available shortly after the ceremony on our website to review or share with friends who couldn't be here today. Before we get underway, can I please ask you to join me in thanking the band of 1027 Battalion Royal South Australia Regiment for their support today. Among the awards today, we'll be presenting the Public Service Medal, the Australian Fire Services Medal, the Ambulance Services Medal, the Emergency Services Medal, and the Australian Corrections Medal. And with that in mind, I'd like to acknowledge the following senior representatives or heads of those organisations present here today. They are Mr David Brown, the Chief Executive of the Department for Correctional Services, Mrs Julia Waddington-Powell, the Chief Executive of the South Australian Fire and Emergency Services Commission, Mr Michael Morgan, AFSM, the Chief Officer of the South Australian Metropolitan Fire Service, Mr Brett Lachlan, AFSM, Chief Officer of the South Australian Country Fire Service, Mr Rob Elliott, ASM, Chief Executive Officer of the South Australian Ambulance Service, Mr Chris Beattie, Chief Officer of the South Australian State Emergency Service, and Mrs Irma Ranieri, PSM, the Commissioner for Public Service Employment. I'd now like to acknowledge the official party for today, and they are the Honourable Claire Scriven, representing the Premier, Commander Emma MacDonald-Kerr, Commanding Officer HMAS Encounter, Colonel Trent Bernard, representing the Army Area Representative South Australia, Air Commodore Tim Alsop, representing the Senior Australian Defence Force Officer Edinburgh, and Assistant Commissioner Scott Duval, representing the Commissioner of Police. If you are able, can I please ask you now to stand for the arrival of Her Excellency the Governor and Mr Bunton, and to remain standing for the playing of the Vice-Regal Salute. Please be seated.
Gana bogana alia, gana miana alia, yaichi miana alia, kumatana yartananku, yatu na tampandi, gana miana, yaichi yatamatina, bukinananku, yalaka takarecha. I acknowledge that we're meeting today on the traditional lands of the Kaurna people, and I pay my respects to the elders, and I particularly welcome any Aboriginal people who may be joining us today, whether from Kaurna country or from other lands and regions. Now, good morning everybody, and welcome to Government House on this beautiful spring morning. Rod and I are delighted to have you here. We very much want Government House to be a place where all South Australians feel welcome. Today is a really special day for recipients of awards in the Order of Australia, and it's also very special for those of you who are here supporting them. So we very much want this to be a day to remember. We'd like you all as much as possible to relax. The house can be a little bit intimidating, heights of ceilings and chandeliers and other things, but we really want the day to be memorable. And certainly for those we're honouring today, I would very much like you to feel as comfortable receiving your insignia as you have been every day that you've been giving the service that we're recognising today. Of course, it's an important occasion. We know that those of you in the front section have been supporting those in the back, sometimes for a very, very long time. In many cases, the service that they've given would not have been possible without your support. It's very much a personal thing, but it's also an important day in the life of the state, and that's why it's always wonderful to have our political leaders represented and here. It's also important to have the service chiefs and SAPOL represented. And today in particular, because it's quite a special day with a number of awards and different kinds of awards that we're making, that the heads of the organisations for which many of those at the back are working are here also. In addition, though, I want to acknowledge Mr. Rick Morris, who is the representative for South Australia for the Order of Australia Council. He's the one who takes all of the South Australian recommendations to Canberra. That involves literally thousands of pages of reading. I'd like also to acknowledge Mr. Noel Hender, OAM, who's here representing the chair of the Order of Australia Association, SA. He'll be encouraging you, and so would I as patron, to join the association. And it's also very good to have Greg Parker here representing the president of the Public Service Medal, PSM Association of South Australia. The service that you know about, I'm sure you regard as extraordinary, but in the course of the next 40 minutes or so, you'll hear about the service of others. And when you add it all up, it is quite extraordinary. The Order of Australia acknowledges outstanding service and exceptional achievement, and you're about to hear through the citations some things that are just quite exceptional. I know that because I've read them all. You'll know it because it will unfold before you. Typically, award winners are very modest about their achievements. Some of them, you'll see, will stand here and look at their feet rather than looking at you as they hear the citations read. Some of the awards recipients in the general division, when they receive the email from the Honour Secretariat, think that it must be a spoof or a scam or a phishing expedition, and they delete the email. We've had more examples of that again last week. Sometimes they even check with their spouses, and their spouses think it can't be right either. So that's something, I mean, I wouldn't say it's unique to the Australian honours system, but I do think it's something quite special about the way we do things. And of course, people only receive awards because they're nominated by other Australians. And I very much want to encourage you all. You'll walk out of the front gate today or drive out the back, and you will have a very clear idea in your mind about what the service we're recognising today looks like. And I'd like you, please, when you see that again, to think about nominating someone. A final request to recipients today, I encourage you, please, to wear your insignia. There will be some occasions when you'll wear the medal. There will be many more just everyday occasions when you can wear the pin or the lapel badge. I wear it every day except when I'm gardening. I've lost one. And there are special miniatures for evening wear as well. But if you get all of that straight in your mind, please wear it every day, wear it with pride. It will help Australians recognise your service. Thank you, everyone. Over to you, Official Secretary.
Your Excellency, the following recipient has been made an Officer of the Order of Australia in the General Division. Clinical Associate Professor Sharon Liberali is recognised for distinguished service to special needs dentistry, to infection control practice enhancement, to tertiary education, and to professional organisations. After learning about the needs of people with disabilities during work experience placements at high school, Professor Liberali studied dentistry at university and pursued a career in special needs dentistry, focusing on oral health care for patients who are medically compromised or who have intellectual, physical, or psychological disabilities. As Director of the Special Needs Unit at the Adelaide Dental Hospital, Professor Liberali bridges the world of dentistry and medicine, supporting patients with complex issues to get the dental care they need. She has a special clinical interest in the care of head and neck cancer patients during oncology treatment, including surgery, radiotherapy, and chemotherapy. She focuses on the care of patients from the moment of diagnosis right through to being able to return to their general dentist. Professor Liberali is a frequent speaker at dental conferences and since 2010 has been a Fellow of the Royal Australasian College of Dental Surgeons. Throughout her career, she has worked tirelessly to raise the profile of special needs dentistry, growing her team and reaching more patients as a result, as well as training other dentists in her field of expertise. Clinical Associate Professor Sharon Liberali. Your Excellency, the following recipient has been appointed a Member of the Order of Australia in the General Division. Mrs. Josephine Helen Cooper is recognised for significant service to the philanthropic sector and to the Anglican Church of Australia. Growing up in the Anglican Church instilled a sense of responsibility and charitable values in Mrs. Cooper, who, at the age of 86, supports some 100 charities. As a parishioner at the St John's Anglican Church, Mrs. Cooper's philanthropic endeavours started in 1981, donating to St John's Youth Services, a charity for young people experiencing homelessness. As a member of the family behind Cooper's Brewery and motivated to improve the lives of Australians, Mrs. Cooper helped to establish the Cooper's Brewery Foundation some 20 years ago. Since its establishment, the foundation has given $7 million to 350 Australian charities. Mrs. Cooper's local philanthropy extends across a range of sectors, including the Adelaide Symphony Orchestra, the Burnside Hospital Foundation, the Redlegs Foundation, and the clipper ship City of Adelaide. After the death of her husband, Mrs. Cooper continued to support causes close to his heart, including the Neurosurgical Research Foundation. As part of the South Australian Living Artists Festival, she also supports an exhibition to be held at the Living Choice Fullerton each year, where she resides, and donating Cooper's beer to the resident organisers for the official opening night. Mrs. Josephine Helen Cooper. Your Excellency, the Public Service Medal has been awarded to the following recipients. Dr. Jonathan John Gorbett is recognised for outstanding public service in emergency management and intergovernmental relations. Dr. Gorbett has undertaken senior leadership roles within the Department of the Premier and Cabinet, acting on behalf of South Australia on issues of national significance. These include early childhood education, health reform, the National Disability Insurance Scheme, counter-terrorism and intergovernmental relations, and emergency management. He supported the Premier in the coordination of the state's input to the National Cabinet and the emergency response to COVID-19. This included movements across borders, quarantine roles, contact tracing, international travel, and economic and local recovery. Simultaneously, he led emergency management and recovery teams in response to the devastating 2018-19 bushfires, building strong relationships with new federal government relief agencies, local government and charitable organisations. Leading on from his various leadership roles in the Department of Premier and Cabinet, Dr. Gorbett currently heads the Environmental Protection Authority. Dr. Jonathan John Gorbett. Dr. Christopher William Leese is recognised for outstanding public service to the people of South Australia during the COVID-19 pandemic response. As Deputy Chief Public Health Officer, Dr. Leese had a critical and challenging role undertaking stakeholder engagement and maintaining public confidence in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. Known for his leadership and collaboration skills, he led the COVID management plan strategy and implementation, which included rapidly developing online training for businesses and COVID marshals. Dr. Leese made an invaluable contribution in South Australia to keeping schools open, hosting 3 major arts festivals, staging the first marathon anywhere in the world during the pandemic, hosting international cricket events, and keeping local and national football competitions operating. His vital role in supporting multiple sectors during the pandemic not only resulted in positive health outcomes for the community, but also in the social and economic recovery in South Australia. Dr. Christopher William Leese. Dr. Kathleen Margaret O'Fell-Keller is recognised for outstanding public service to the agricultural industry through research and innovative leadership. Dr. O'Fell-Keller provided service excellence throughout her 25-year career at SARDI, the research division of the Department of Primary Industries and Regions. Key research initiatives established by Dr. O'Fell-Keller have helped build greater resilience to future droughts, advanced the sustainability of the wine industry, and reduced the impact of soil-borne diseases on the grains, wine, and horticultural sectors. With a strong track record in developing and leading national research programs with industry co-investment, she played a key role in negotiating strategic partnerships for SARDI with both the Grains Research Development Corporation and Wine Australia, as well as the development and commercialisation of Predictor B services, a unique technology for measuring pathogens in soil, which provides a diagnostic service to Australian primary producers. Dr. O'Fell-Keller has also encouraged the mentoring of women to advance into senior leadership roles within the agricultural industry and has implemented an internship program. Dr. Kathleen Margaret O'Fell-Keller. Your Excellency, the Australian Fire Service Medal has been awarded to the following recipients. Mr. Gregory John Crawford is recognised for distinguished service to the community within the South Australian Country Fire Service. Mr. Crawford is known both for his operational expertise and leadership, actively promoting and encouraging the development of all South Australian Country Fire Service members. He has demonstrated outstanding operational command and administrational leadership for the Southern Fleurieu Group as Group Officer, a role he has held for 15 years. His operational roles have included Crew Leader, Divisional Commander, Group Duty Officer, Sectional Commander, and Incident Controller. An advocate for all members to reach their potential, he is a strong voice for gender equality and inclusion within the CFS. As a highly respected operational leader, he is known for his dedication and proactive approach to mentoring, supporting, and developing the leaders of tomorrow. Mr. Crawford is also acknowledged as a strong advocate for developing relationships that support the agency and the community. Mr. Gregory John Crawford. Mrs. Linda May Smith is recognised for distinguished service to the community within the South Australian Country Fire Service. During her 44 years as a volunteer, Mrs. Smith has demonstrated distinguished, exceptional service and commitment to the South Australian Country Fire Service. Since 2001, she has attended more than 75 incidents, including interstate deployments to Victoria and New South Wales, providing an abundance of experience in various roles. While living and working in Port Lincoln, she organised the upgrading of 12 fire sheds in Region 6, including a new air operations shed at Tumby Bay. Her innovative implementation of systems and procedures has provided the CFS with accurate records management and review processes for personal protective clothing, vehicle servicing, and maintenance programs at the local level, assisting the safety of community, volunteers, and operations. In her current role of Incident Management Team Coordinator, she provides operational support, mentoring, leadership, and opportunities for new logistics officers to improve and develop their own skills to pursue regional and state roles. Mrs. Linda May Smith. Your Excellency, the Ambulance Service Medal has been awarded to the following recipients. Ms. Tamsin Kate Dunn is recognised for distinguished service to the community within the South Australian Ambulance Service. Ms. Dunn has demonstrated sustained meritorious commitment to the provision of volunteer ambulance services and clinical care to patients in regional communities. An operational volunteer ambulance officer, she has served more than 8 years in a number of roles while also studying her Bachelor of Paramedicine degree at Flinders University. In 2020, her passion for providing medical assistance and mentoring new volunteers led to her achieving positions as a clinical educator and 2 years later as a volunteer training coordinator while continuing to serve as a frontline volunteer. A professional clinician mentoring dozens of volunteer recruits, her positive influence, skills, commitment and enthusiasm ensure she is a positive role model to junior ambulance officers, assisting to retain the next generation of volunteers. Her high-level understanding of digital technology and integration also supports service delivery. And she has undertaken further tertiary education as an exercise physiologist and a master's in clinical nursing. Ms. Tamsin Kate Dunn. Ms. Stacey Solomew is recognised for distinguished service to the community within the South Australian Ambulance Service. Ms. Solomew has demonstrated commitment to frontline ambulance services for 26 years, excelling in various operational and clinical leadership roles, and is currently an operations manager. Throughout her career, she has supported clinicians and the South Australian Ambulance Service to connect with the greater community through her involvement in programs such as PARTY, which addresses prevention and reduction of harm associated with young people. Ms. Solomew has also used the paramedic Pete mascot to build children's trusts in the ambulance service and supported a research project examining clinician and patient risks in administering methoxyflurane pain relief. As a peer support officer, she is committed to assisting her colleagues through traumatic events through her long-standing leadership and education roles at Flinders University. An exceptional leader and clinician, Ms. Solomew was recently involved with the State Duty Manager Assist model, an alternative roster to navigate extraordinary demand on the service, designed to improve the triage of high-risk patients and to prioritise available resources. Ms. Stacey Solomew. Your Excellency, the Emergency Services Medal has been awarded to the following recipient. Mrs. Julie Louise Page is recognised for distinguished service to the community with the South Australian State Emergency Service. Mrs. Page has been an active member of the Wurruka State Emergency Services Unit for more than 16 years, undertaking several leadership roles, and is currently the Deputy Unit Manager. Devoting countless hours to recruiting, training, and mentoring others, she has proactively engaged with the community to recruit new members, providing a welcoming and professional environment. An experienced first responder, she has supported the Greater York Peninsula by providing response to road crash rescues, extreme weather, and search and rescue incidents. This is her 40th year in volunteering with emergency services, having started with surf life saving when she was 15, and then the ambulance service and the CFS. Mrs. Page exemplifies what it means to be a volunteer, one that has made a significant impact on the Wurruka unit and the broader South Australian community. Mrs. Julie Louise Page. Your Excellency, the Australian Corrections Medal has been awarded to the following recipients. Mr. Colin John Mercer is recognised for distinguished service to the community within the Correctional Services of South Australia. Mr. Mercer is a highly respected member of the Department of Correctional Services who often goes above and beyond in many aspects of his work. In his current role as Senior Case Manager at the Noarlunga Community Correctional Centre, he has daily and extensive face-to-face contact with offenders. He regularly liaises with other agencies and has been commended for the work he undertakes and the manner in which he does so. An excellent leader and mentor for staff, encouraging them to reach their potential, he goes beyond his role to research, promote, and organise targeted training. He supports offenders through their supervision and reporting requirements, as well as escalation in regard to breach activity. His personal style enables him to have difficult conversations while setting extremely firm boundaries and compliance measures and still maintaining respect and rapport with some of the most difficult offenders. Mr. Colin John Mercer. Mr. Anthony James Shillabeer is recognised for distinguished service to the community within the Correctional Services of South Australia. Mr. Shillabeer has a strong commitment to the northern region of South Australia across both the prison and community sectors, serving in remote areas of Coober Pedy and Marla, as well as Port Lincoln. Taking up the role of Regional Director, Northern Region in 2009, he has a strong dedication to improving outcomes for Aboriginal people and families, and has worked on a number of important projects and programs aimed at reducing incarceration. Highly regarded across the department, Mr. Shillabeer has been integral in implementing the nation-leading Life Sentence Prisoners program. This initiative gives homicide offenders who have been assessed as suitable for return to the community the opportunity to participate in a transition program. He has also played a key role in the establishment of the pilot program at Lemongrass Place, a community-based rehabilitation centre in Port Augusta for Aboriginal men from remote communities to safely transition back into the community. Mr. Anthony James Shillabeer. Your Excellency, the Medal of the Order of Australia in the General Division has been awarded to the following recipient. Mrs. Annette Joy Forbes is recognised for service to the community through a range of roles. Mrs. Forbes is a valued resident of the Adelaide Hills community, volunteering in a range of roles for more than half a century. Her community service began in 1967 as president of the Bridgewater Primary School Welfare Club. She held that role for 13 years while her 4 children went through the school. Mrs. Forbes has sat on several Bridgewater-based committees, including the netball and football clubs, the Bridgewater Hall Committee, and she was a foundation member of the Bridgewater Sports and Social Club. She is a life member and former president of the Hills Netball Association and a former committee member, selector and club champion of the Uradla, Mount Barker and Woodside bowling clubs. Mrs. Forbes has also been driving for Meals on Wheels for 50 years and is a current committee member. Mrs. Annette Joy Forbes. Your Excellency, that concludes the presentations for this morning.
Thank you very much, and thank you everyone. I hope you agree with me. It was a privilege to hear all of those citations and to see the people who are being awarded today. The word that kept coming through to me with every single one of them, every single one of you, was service. Service with a capital S, given in a wide variety of ways that benefit our state and the people of our state tremendously, and for that I thank you, and I ask everyone present to thank them and congratulate them one more time.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Can I please ask recipients to remain in the room for the group photograph and invite guests to join Her Excellency and Mr. Bunton in the drawing rooms for morning tea. If you are able, please stand for the departure of Her Excellency and Mr. Bunton. Thank you very much. If the guests could please follow the official party to the drawing rooms. Thank you.